For the first time in almost 2 decades, the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics have teamed up to update the list of developmental milestones for kids. Our 9 Health expert, Dr. Coley, is here to break it down for parents. First thing I did, I went on CDC and I looked up the milestone for my kids' ages. So this is really interesting. What's the big change?
This is huge, Corey. It hasn't been done in almost 2 decades. And essentially, they've done a few things. So first, they've made a checklist of 11 different things, milestones that you should be hitting. Second, they've added a 15-month and a 30-month additional milestones that were not present before. So now you're basically getting a milestone check at every well-child visit from 2 months to 5 years. And then last and most importantly, I think, is they changed the criteria for what is normal. So they used to say that about 50% of kids should be at this milestone at this age. Now they've changed that to 75% of kids should be at that milestone at that age.
And what's the reasoning?
It's important because we were missing a lot of kids with autism. So the entire idea is to clarify, to simplify, and to make sure that we diagnose kids early, because the earlier we diagnose them, the more likely we are to actually impact their treatment and also could, affect their further development as well.
So now that the guidelines have changed, what should parents know? What should they do? When should they talk to the doctor?
So I think the first most important thing to do is what you did, which is to go
check.
Go to the CDC website. They have a great list of all the milestones and the updated milestones, and then see if your child is hitting those milestones. Also think back to your last well-child visit with your pediatrician, and was your child one of those 50 that hit the milestone or one that didn't? Because if they were one of those 50 that didn't, it's really important to talk to your pediatrician to see if additional testing might be necessary, or to raise any other concerns you may have about their social behavior, about their emotional behavior, about some of the habits that they're developing.
It really was interesting because I have an almost 18-month and my son just turned 3, and so I went to each one and I was like, wow, like off the charts for these, and then some I was like right there. And so I think you really have to be honest with yourself too. Like, are they really saying 3 words? Are they really walking without help? That kind of a thing.
You have to be honest with yourself. You also have to understand the dynamics are different when you have 2 kids as opposed to 1.
I can't imagine why.
In some ways it's funny because the second child actually helps accelerate the milestones. The first child helps accelerate the milestones for the second child, so that's really good. But the other thing you have to be mindful of, as you said, are they actually doing it? But don't use the language like they may be doing it or they could be doing it. You actually want to say yes or no, are they doing it? Because it's really important, again, for that early diagnosis of autism.
I'm so glad you brought this up because it is fascinating when you look through it, and they break it down really, really great. And as you were saying, there's a whole list from like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, all the way down. It's awesome.
Well, and what's interesting is by doing this and changing it, they've actually decreased the number of milestones that kids have to hit. So that simplification and clarification piece has really come through with this update.
Very interesting. Dr. Coley, as always, thank you for coming in.